Apparently, Tom Bower, the royal author, has now said that he thinks more details will emerge of the bullying that transferred to work for Meghan Markle, where she lasted about 10 minutes. She was questioned about these allegations that Meghan Markle bullied members of staff.
I would think she has shown quite a few narcissistic tendencies in the past, particularly in things like the Oprah Winfrey interview. I think there was a lot of narcissism in that.
What did you make about the...
She preaches kindness, right? But guess what the cameras caught? Cruelty. Pure, cold cruelty. Meghan Markle's perfect princess act? Oh, honey, it's cracking. And not just with rumors. This time, the mask didn't slip. It shattered. And why? Because the cameras don't lie. The Duchess of Dignity? Please. Try the Queen of Ice.
By the late Queen to help Meghan acclimatise. She stayed in the role, but then, unfortunately, they couldn't find a replacement for her because...
Like all royal scandals, it started in hushed tones. A whisper here, a glance over tea there. But oh, this one had teeth. What began as harmless murmurs among the palace staff has exploded into a full-blown scandal. Why? CCTV footage. Cold, hard, unforgiving, and 100% incapable of lying.
Shoot people up in person. What was kind of your reactions to these allegations, Hugo?
Well, I'm afraid I'm not surprised by these allegations because even when she...
That footage, allegedly, doesn't show Meghan on a bad day. Nope, it shows her unleashing, not a stressful moment, a tirade, a total meltdown on a female staffer. Forget Duchess of Kindness. This was Queen of Mean in full force. Not stern, not assertive, chilling. People who saw it say it stripped professionalism bare. This wasn't yelling, this was a full character reveal.
Unpleasant. Apparently, the Sussex Survivor Squad had to all find themselves consoling each other.
You're going to think it's satire. The Sussex Survivors Club sounds like a joke, right? It's not. That's the actual name a group of her former staffers gave themselves. Not ex-employees, not former assistants, survivors. That word alone should stop you cold. It says everything.
You know, hearing from very good sources that there was trouble. There was a time when she was very rude to one of the undergardeners.
One former staffer confessed she still wakes up anxious even years after escaping Meghan's orbit. They said Meghan had a switch. One moment, warm and polished, especially when Harry was nearby. The next, you were nothing, a speck beneath her heel, someone said. You didn't work for her, you served her. And no matter what you did, it was never good enough.
And they probably whine at their staff as much as they whine to the British press, whine to the American press, and whine to everyone else about how...
The story's brutal. Like Meghan allegedly making someone rewrite an email 14 times. 14! Each version torn to shreds with icy disdain. One assistant said the office felt like walking through a minefield. People flinched every time a message popped up.
More cottage, and the head gardener went to complain to the Queen, and the Queen went down and ticked her off because the Queen obviously didn't like people being rude to staff. So, having heard that story...
Inside the palace, it became the worst kept secret. The rule? Smile, nod, obey, and never cross her. The ones who did, they weren't just let go, they were erased. Meghan didn't just expect loyalty, she demanded it. And in return, you got nothing.
Probably is not very good with staff or with, people that she's employing or people that she's getting flowers from and things like that. It's just very unattractive because...
To the world, Meghan's this TED Talk goddess, poised, radiant, always talking about mental health, feminism, compassion. But behind those palace walls, another story entirely. Former aides said the woman beaming for charity cameras was not the one snapping her fingers in private. One put it simply, there was Meghan, the actress, and Meghan, the boss, and they were not the same person.
And how they're victims of every single terrible thing that's ever happened in the world. So I wish this person the best of luck because I think they're going to need it.
staff members, they developed an internal radar. The moment she entered the room, they read her mood like their job depended on it, because it did. One word out of place, one slip up, and bam, the air shifted. Calm turned cutting, clear turned cruel. One aide said it best: you didn't just fear messing up, you feared being publicly humiliated.
Be very polite to people who work for you and people that you deal with over the telephone, because otherwise they're going to get very put out, and they're going to, when things start.
It wasn't just shouting, it was eye rolls, snide comments, passive-aggressive jabs that stung worse than screams. One assistant cried in the bathroom weekly. Another, she described Meghan's style as emotional terrorism in a designer coat.
Meanwhile, Meghan has failed to find, in more staffing problems, a chief executive officer for her new cooking and lifestyle business.
After they left the royals, Meghan and Harry looked unstoppable. Deals with Netflix, Spotify, explosive interviews, documentaries. They promised authenticity, healing, a new kind of royalty. But that dream? Milk, mirrors, all falling apart.
Riviera Orchard. Apparently, having interviewed several candidates for the position, they've been searching now for 5 weeks, but according to a California-based source,
Spotify dumped them after just 1 season, and a top exec didn't hold back, called them grifters. Yikes. Netflix quietly canceled their animation project. Meghan's big lifestyle brand, blink and you missed it. What was supposed to be a media empire is now crashing, slowly but loudly.
Be happy to answer questions by the media, I guess. Well, I think probably quite a lot of actresses have a narcissistic.
And it's not just business deals going down, it's reputations. Industry insiders are whispering Meghan is becoming high risk. Same complaints as from the palace: micromanaging, cold, always playing the victim. One LA source said it flat out. She wants control, not collaboration.
Yes, I agree with you. Of course, it can be very stressful leading up to a wedding, but once again, this is when your true character comes out. You know, you know, if you're, we can all be very polite. You know, when things are going well, it's when we're under.
Being demanding? Okay, maybe, but cruel? That's another level. Staff said it wasn't policies that hurt, it was personal jabs, the kind that stay with you, the kind that leave invisible scars. And you want to talk about empowerment? This wasn't it.
That you see people getting annoyed and getting aggressive and so forth. So once again, I'm afraid it doesn't surprise me. I would think she has shown quite a few narcissistic tendencies.
One staffer remembered it vividly. Meghan mocking her British accent in front of everyone, smirking, mimicking her tone. The room froze. Some laughed, but only because they had to. I didn't, the staffer said. I was mortified. That wasn't playful. That was public humiliation, and she served it with a smile.
Things like the Oprah Winfrey interview, I think there was a lot of narcissism in that. So once again, I'm not surprised, I'm afraid. It's just not very attractive. It's not a very attractive characteristic.
Another assistant ripped to shreds over a calendar mix-up, not corrected, annihilated. She made me feel 6 inches tall, the staffer said. There was no grace, just rage.
Sound a slight exaggeration because, you know, that requires quite a lot of effort, doesn't it? But let's assume that
these aren't one-offs, they're patterns. 1,000 small cuts. And here's the kicker: no one to turn to. HR, useless. Harry, nowhere. Meghan always had the last word, and it was the sharpest one in the room.
Once again, you know, if you're working with a florist and you're employing them and something goes wrong, you know that you can.
At first, the nickname Duchess Difficult was brushed off. Sexist. Tabloid trash. Critics cried racism, nationalism, bias, but those palace insiders? They say it wasn't about any of that. The name came from experience, painful, real, repeated.
Perfectly politely, and you can express your annoyance at what's so supposedly gone wrong without shouting at them. And I think this particular florist, when I read the article, was saying that even though they very much liked having...
It started as a joke whispered over late night wine, then it stuck. Why? Because it was accurate. It wasn't just mood swings, it was the way she made people feel, like nothing. Meghan made her staff feel disposable. And that label? It followed her far beyond the palace. The nickname didn't just trail her, it exploded across her new ventures. The Archewell podcast team, Meghan's passion project, even they couldn't stay silent. Stories echoed what palace insiders already knew: toxic energy, emotional manipulation, impossible expectations, and a revolving door of exhausted employees. One insider confessed, "I've never felt so drained working for someone so empowering." The irony? Meghan, the supposed queen of wellness, was leaving her team emotionally wrecked. And let's be clear, this wasn't some gossip site inventing drama. No, it was a well-researched expose with sources who lived it. They didn't come forward to be petty. They came forward because the fairy tale was turning into a nightmare. And what did Meghan's camp do? Release a glowing statement about how amazing she is to work for. Please, that silence behind the PR, that's the sound of panic. Because if that CCTV footage ever goes public, it won't just be bad. It'll be a catastrophe. Gone instantly would be the image she spent years perfecting: the mistreated Duchess, the empathetic champion of mental health, the gentle humanitarian. In its place, a woman allegedly caught treating staff with cold, unflinching disregard. And on camera, no spin doctor can erase that. No taking out of context excuse will survive. And the silence, that'll only make it worse. And then there's Harry. Where was he during all of this? Meghan's right-hand man, the rebel prince, the bold defender. Why wasn't he stepping in? Why wasn't he protecting staff or even her? Was he blinded by love? Or maybe too deep in his own trauma to notice the one forming around him? Because right now, his silence is thunderous. These accusations are piling up like a storm, and not one word from him. No defense, no denial, nothing. And when the public hears silence, they don't hear neutral. They hear guilty by association. Remember, Meghan sold herself as a new kind of royal, a feminist, a mental health warrior, a voice for the unheard. But what happens when the very people under her care, the women working for her, say they felt degraded, manipulated, and discarded? That's the contradiction, the hypocrisy. She uplifted women unless they worked for her. And let's talk about that Australia trip. Remember how the public loved it? Behind the scenes, though, insiders say it was a disaster. The smiles in front of cameras, masking chaos. The African trip after that, same vibe, worse energy. Some insiders knew then she had a plan. And marrying Harry? That was her golden ticket, her way out and up. The duality is brutal. Fans still cling to her public speeches, her carefully crafted image, but behind that, staffers say she exploded over a pair of misplaced shoes. One minute she's talking dignity, the next she's belittling someone over something trivial. And when your brand is built on compassion and then cracks under real scrutiny, the fallout isn't just damaging, it's devastating. Because it's not the palace or press who will take her down, it's the people who stood by her in silence for too long, the assistants who cried after meetings, the staff who lost sleep, the ones who endured and endured and endured until they simply couldn't anymore. But these stories, they aren't fading. They're gaining traction. And not because they're dramatic, but because they all sound the same. That many voices saying the same thing, that's not gossip, that's a pattern. And if that CCTV footage ever sees daylight, it won't just be a viral video, it'll be a reckoning. The Duchess, who always claimed she was silenced, she may finally have to face the voices she tried to silence herself. No tearful podcast, no raw interview can erase what happens behind closed doors. A quiet photo of Harry from 2015 before Meghan, people are pointing to it now, saying, look how happy he was then. It's haunting. People who were once loyal to him say they barely recognize the man he's become, and no one knows what his reaction to all of this will be. Will he defend her, or will he finally face what people have been whispering for years? Because here's the brutal truth. Meghan's fairy tale wasn't just about escaping the royals. It was about controlling the narrative. But the thing about control, it slips. She told the world she was here to uplift women, to advocate for wellness, to fight for inclusion. But one former aide summed it up perfectly. Working for her felt like she believed in female empowerment, as long as you weren't one of the women working under her. The contradiction is staggering. And now, the world is watching. The people she claimed to help are stepping forward to say, that wasn't our experience. This isn't about race or nationality or culture. It's about power, behavior, consistency. Because if even a fraction of what's been said is true, then Meghan's biggest problem isn't the royal family or the media or internet trolls. It's the truth. Because when your entire brand is built on empathy, inclusion, and compassion, and then real people say you treated them like dirt behind the scenes, that's not just bad PR. That's character collapse. Fans are struggling to reconcile the Meghan who gives impassioned speeches about dignity with the Meghan who allegedly screamed at assistants for minor slip-ups, the one who radiates warmth on camera but reportedly ice cold off it. And now, they're done being quiet. Their stories, once brushed off as bitterness or tabloid fluff, now sound like a chorus. Too aligned, too consistent, too real, and the world, it's starting to listen. Because when too many voices say the same thing, it stops being a rumor. It starts becoming reality. People are digging deeper, looking at her interviews in a new light. That poised smile, those TED Talk quotes, they're not hitting the same anymore. Not after what's coming out. If that CCTV footage is leaked, and by all insider accounts it exists, it won't be just a scandal. It'll be a moment the narrative breaks. The woman who once cried of being silenced may have to answer for trying to silence others, because no curated post, no brand relaunch, no soft focus Instagram quote can erase what happens when people feel emotionally wrecked by someone preaching empowerment. That footage won't lie. It'll speak louder than any denial, any PR spin, any statement from a rep. It'll be the moment the world sees what insiders claim they've known for years. Meghan Markle might not be who she claimed to be, and empathy doesn't come with a crown. It comes with actions, especially when no one's watching. Final thoughts? The Duchess of Compassion, the humanitarian, the feminist icon, all titles Meghan gave herself and the world accepted. But if what these staffers say is true, if what the footage allegedly shows is real, then those titles won't just lose their shine, they'll mean nothing. Because behind every carefully curated photo, there may have been someone crying just out of frame. Behind every empowering speech, an exhausted team being cut down. And that's what people will remember. Not the dress, not the podcast, not the docuseries, but the behavior, the pattern, the footage. And one day, maybe soon, when that CCTV clip finally sees the light, the world won't just question Meghan's image, it'll rewrite it. From Duchess of Dignity to Queen of Mean. And once that happens, there's no going back.